It's Bourbon Night. Hello, I'm Chad.
I'm Chad.
Two Chads, one channel. Here's what to expect in this episode. We're going to take a revisit to the Infinity Barrel.
And we're also going to talk about the rules of bourbon, and why we're going to talk about it is because of the Infinity Barrel, which led to the idea for this episode, and also some changes in the TTB that have happened as of late.
There are chapter marks because, you know, we're inside, we're outside, we're bouncing around back and forth, so there's chapter marks if you want to jump around in this episode, if there's just a certain part that you want to concentrate on. But Chad, let's get out there, let's pop that bung, and let's see what's going on in that barrel.
Let's do it.
Well, it's almost been 2 years since we started the Infinity Barrel project. I thought it was high time that we check back in on it. So, let's get to thiefing.
That's not a thief. This is a thief.
It's unnecessary. Hurtful.
But this is a thief.
All right, here we are. Bung is debunked. We debunked that myth. Yeah, let's go ahead and thieve it out.
Yep, you said it, not me.
The first video we did, this came out pretty low in proof. Been adding to it for the past year and a half, over a year and a half. We're gonna see if we're able to have gotten that proof up. We also have the control, an ounce of every bottle. You can go ahead anytime you're ready, Chad. An ounce of every bottle that was put into here was put into another bottle to work as a control. As you can see, it's still not a whole lot in here, so this may take a minute.
So the way this works, we've talked about it before, it's like a straw. So I'm just trying to basically pump it up so it'll suck it in there. You can see the level of fill in the barrel based on the thief. So you see it's short.
So short. How many bottles? Okay, got nothing. How many bottles do you think this would yield?
About 3 to 4 gallons. So 15 to 20 bottles.
So at a barrel pick, you would not want to pick this barrel.
No.
Unless it was just too good to walk away from. Oh boy, it smells really good. Okay.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roll it back so I can get this in at a better angle.
Yep.
And then get more access to the liquid this way.
Why? Why is it so low?
Essentially everything that you had dumped in there has either evaporated or soaked into the wood. So typically, like, you know, a 53 gallon barrel holds almost 55 gallons. Usually you're losing about 5 gallons to the wood itself. So
now the thing that made this proof low was when we got this barrel, it had dried out and there were leaks. So we filled it up maybe a fourth with water, rolled it around, tightened it up, and then dumped out the water. Of course, a lot of that water soaks into the stays,
wood, yep.
And then the whiskey soaks in and it soaks out, and you have lower proof. So that's why that is. But I mean, pretty decent color here. Let's get it proofed.
Absolutely.
All right, back here in the studio, and Chad, I have a hypothetical for you. Let's say that Infinity Barrel was 78 proof, and I didn't have any other bourbon to mix into it.
Okay.
And let's also say it wasn't just an American whiskey, which is what that barrel is, because it's a second-use barrel. Let's say it was a tried and true bourbon.
Okay.
What could I do legally to get that up the 2 proof points to be 80 proof, which is the minimum, of course, we know. For bourbon.
It's a little bit of a gray area, but there is a category in the TTB called a distilled spirit specialty, which that includes all of your things like bourbons finished in, rye finished in, flavored whiskeys, those kind of things that can have colors, additives, and or flavors.
Okay.
So if you have something that is 78 proof and no more whiskey to proof that up, you can add a little bit of GNS, which is a grain neutral spirit, to get that up to 80 proof. And if you file it under the TTB as a DSS, you can call it bourbon.
Okay. What would be an example that people might be familiar of GNS?
So GNS is your base for everything from vodka to gin. 90% of all your vodka distilleries are buying GNS from a large producer that we all know and love in the bourbon world. And then they are adding their water to it to create vodka. So GNS, or grain neutral spirit, is distilled at 190 proof. It is, just corn-based liquor, so to speak, or it's not technically a whiskey, but it could be if you proof it down. It's essentially light whiskey before it goes to a barrel.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So to give people like a brand out there.
Everclear.
Okay. Santa Monica, great song. What would you say is
Father
your
of mine,
Yeah, Father. What would you say is your favorite Everclear song?
Bayou a New Life.
Really?
Yeah, I like that song. Santa Monica's good. Bayou a New Life's good.
I'm gonna go deep cut. Electra Made Me Blind was not a single.
No.
It was off the Sparkle and Fade album. It was the first track. I just think it would be really cool, like intro music if you were a wrestler.
I could see that.
You could pop out at the hi part. Anyway, all right. All right, we have what is the official name for this?
So what we have here is it's not fair to communicate. This is a hydrometer. This is an Anpar Snap 51, so this is something that I use in the warehouse to test samples and proof batches and stuff. So this will give us our ABV, our temp, and our density to give us our proof. So the way it works is I will stick this in there, press this button, a couple times, get a reading, and then we'll know our ABV and proof.
All right.
My boy, it's gone up in proof. It's now 44.8.
44.8, so 88.
89.6.
89.6 proof.
Yes.
All right, better. I feel like it was like 82 the first time we did this.
Yes, it was almost not bourbon. It was so low.
Yeah.
So
obviously evaporation, and I also bought a few fifths of Benchmark 125, poured it in there. All right, all good information. We got more good information to come. We're getting into the nitty gritty, but we want to take a little moment here to pause, tell you about our home on the internet. It's whiskyambitions.com. It's where you can get this cask strength and unfiltered. We'll talk about cask strength. We'll talk about all that stuff.
We will.
Later, or maybe in another video. I don't know. We haven't filmed it yet. So we can get this t-shirt, the hat that I'm wearing, both of the Glencairns that we're drinking from, hoodies because it's still cold in places, bottle cut candles, elemental elixir, cocktail syrup, and more that's always coming soon at whiskyambitions.com.
And patreon.com/itsbourbonnight. And for as little as $1 a month, you can get first dibs on barrel picks, discount codes for this nice merch that you see Chad wearing, like the glasses we have, Q&As. You can also submit things to help shape the content of the episodes.
Very true.
Another round.
Yeah.
And you can get your name put right here.
Look at these fine people.
Yes, they are great. I love all of you. I only know like 4 of you, but I love all of you.
You all have a special place in our hearts.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very good. So that's patreon.com/itsbourbonnight. All right, we're going to get back to it. Before we do, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back after this. And we're back.
We're back.
Thanks for sticking around. Caller, you're on the air. No, just kidding. Chad, Watson, I feel like I need to get used to calling you Watson so there's less confusion.
I will not call you Perkins.
Call me Perk?
Nope.
Well, maybe we've gotten a little bit ahead of ourselves because there are the rules of bourbon, and you all watching probably know these, but if you're, just getting into the hobby, I'll say, you might not know. So let's do a tit for tat, rules of bourbon. You kick it off for us, Watson.
Yeah, so first of all, it has to be distilled within the United States, and that includes all territories and provinces.
Okay. Must be at least 51% corn.
It also cannot be distilled higher than 160 proof off the still.
It cannot enter the barrel higher than 125 proof.
And it also doesn't even have to be a barrel. The law is a new charred oak vessel/container.
Yeah. Now, barrel, 53-gallon barrel, which is technically 55 gallons.
Right.
But filled to 53 is, the industry standard.
Industry standard. There is no limit on what bourbon is as far as aging goes, so it could be in there for a second.
Yep.
I can't remember who said you put it into a barrel for 15 seconds, roll it 15 feet, and you have 15-second bourbon.
15-second bourbon. But you would have to put an age statement on there because if it is under 4 years of age, it has to be labeled the age on the label.
Correct. And then anything 2 years plus is a straight bourbon.
Straight bourbon. Straight connotation also means that it must be distilled in one state.
Correct. Unless you go into the whole category of blend of straights. If you want Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, it has to only be distilled and aged in Kentucky,
Okay.
and 2 years old.
Yes. Oh boy. Now here's a misnomer. Some people say bourbon cannot be over a certain proof. Like it can't be over 160 proof. I think people are conflating the off the still at 160.
Correct.
Bourbon could be 170 proof and it would still be bourbon.
Right. So there's only so much alcohol, but if the water burns off faster than the ethanol, then the proof goes up. So you can have 160, 165, 170 proof bourbon. It might not taste good.
It's not going to taste very good.
Probably won't taste good.
No.
But you can have it.
Yeah. And of course, then you get into the bottled and bond, which is a minimum of 4 years, federally bonded warehouse.
100 proof.
100 proofs.
All warehouses are bonded now, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
And they have been for a long time. But
telling the secrets, spilling the tea over here.
Yeah.
From one distilling season, from one distiller.
Yeah.
Only water can be added to proof it down to exactly 100 proof. Where's Bernie Lubbers when you need them?
I know.
I feel like there's some other little minutia there in the bottled and bond, but
for bottled and bond, it is at least 4 years old, at least 100 proof.
Yep.
Bonded warehouse.
Well, not at least, exactly 100 proof, Chad.
Exactly 100 proof. Sorry. No less, no more.
The new guy.
But that does lead you into you are allowed a proof variance.
Ooh,
when it comes to what's listed on the label.
Are we getting into the new rules now?
This has been a rule for a long time.
Okay.
This is why you see Woodford doing the 90.4 and Michter's doing the 94.4, because there is a leeway that producers are allowed to have with what's listed and what goes in the bottle.
Okay, explain that leeway.
That leeway is 0.3 ABV, so 0.6 proof. So say you have something that is 90.3 proof, you're allowed to have a variance of that 0.6. So you could have 89.7 up to that 90.3. Now that's not ideal because you don't want to be going through that thin line.
Right.
But it is possible.
All right. I gotta say, it smells pretty good.
It smells really good.
It smells
really good.
It smells pretty good. It doesn't taste as good.
So
sort of a vintagey.
Very much
oak.
vintagey beam like.
Yeah.
Very mild.
Where?
A little light fruit, kind of floral, woody.
Yeah. Okay, but not bad.
No,
I think better than almost 2 years ago when we first tried it. Now I'm gonna grab what we call it control, the whiskey that was added here. An ounce was set aside from each bottle to have a control to see what secondary barrel aged does. So this, and you can see the amount. So think of 1 ounce going from every bottle, and this is probably 3/4 of a fifth.
you're probably at about 600 mLs.
Yeah, so you can use that to figure out how much bourbon went into this barrel. Let's see.
Take a guess.
Can I try it first?
Yeah, try it first.
110 proof?
107.2.
Okay, not bad. 107.2. Obviously, it wouldn't be anything over 125 because 125 has been probably about the max that's been contributed, and there's been some lower proof ones. So
Yeah, I think the water content in the barrel still keeping it low, but it's cool to see it's not so far off from cast strength.
Yeah. There you are. I like the nose better on the secondary barrel aged one, but
I do too.
But I like the flavor on this one better.
Yeah, that's more muted, and then the flavors here kind of shine. The addition of the wood isn't really doing anything right now to help it.
Right. Do a little side by side. I do like the vintagey quality of the secondary barrel aged one. I do have to say that. I wish it was this proof though.
I don't know, man. Going back for a second sip on comparison of the two, I'm leaning towards the rebarrel.
Well, it definitely does feel like the unbarrel aged one is just modern day whiskey, and the secondarily barrel aged one is vintagey.
100%.
Yeah. And the great thing about vintage whiskey, and I think I can speak for you on this one, Chad, is it doesn't have to be high proof. There could be some 86s, even had some 80 proofers. When it's true vintage, it's like, no, this is working for me. So the word blended has kind of, in some circles anyway, has become kind of a bad word. And I think that's, maybe from
the olden days.
The olden days, right?
Yeah.
Blended, bad word. No, never say blended. You say we married these barrels, so they're not living in sin.
Right.
Why is blended a bad word, or was it a bad word?
Back in the day, they were blending whiskey with anything and everything that was a liquid or brown.
Oh, jeez.
Or
That's a lot of bad stuff.
It is a lot of bad stuff, or just things, which is why the Bottled and Bond Act was created.
So this is way back in the day. This is before 1897.
Correct. So
Rectifiers.
100%. So rectifying is just a blender, and that became a bad word. A lot of people just assume today still, maybe not, but that rectifying and blending means that you can add flavors and colors and additives. That is not 100% true at all. There are classifications of what determine what those are, such as like blend of straights, whiskey of blends, and those kind of things that allow flavors, colors, and additives, or, reusing used barrels for blending. But blending is really just the combining of two things. It's like a cocktail. You are blending two things together to create a cocktail.
To create something different tasting.
Right. Exactly.
Than the original parts. I also remember it's like Kentucky Tavern and Kentucky Gentleman. I think Gentleman is the blended whiskey, and Tavern is just like a really young bourbon, but it is a bourbon. Right. So what does Gentleman do to make it blended and not a, Kentucky straight bourbon?
Well, I believe it has added flavors, colors, and it includes, like what we spoke about earlier, neutral grain spirits. So a good chunk of that product in that bottle is GNS.
Okay, so above that 2% that you are legally allowed to proof something up. And that's really, that use case scenario is only if you're going up 2 points, and it's only if you needed to get it up to the minimum, right? So you wouldn't be working with like 86 and like, I want to make it 88. So you'll add two proof points of neutral grain spirit, right?
100% correct. Yeah, you can't just say, I want hazmat and go from 139 to 140.
Oh, man.
That is not legal.
Dang.
That is not legal at all.
Shoot. So that's a very limited use case. But yeah, so blended, and I think that's, to make it a little bit more modern, less 1897 area, is you see blended and like you have no idea what is in that thing. So I think that's why it gets a bad name. But when we're talking about blending straight bourbon whiskey, that's a different ball of wax.
Right. I mean, you think every small batch you've ever seen, Elijah Craig small batch, Jim Beam, all of that, they're blends.
If it's not a single barrel, it's going to be a blend.
It's a blend.
Yeah.
And that's just the best way to showcase that is by putting it on the label, which most people are afraid of seeing that word, but it's everything you drink unless it's single barrel is a blend. What, intentional or not, is a blend.
Now I want to kind of shift gears here, and because there's some new rules that have come along, and maybe, what would you say, the past 2 years or so?
Yep.
From the TTB, some new things that are almost sort of just like semantics.
Yeah.
But I know one of them we've already talked about was that proof variation, and you have that window that you can go up. So that's one of them. Do you want to talk about the second one?
Yeah, so the second one is aging continues from barrel to barrel. So say you have a 3-year, 11-month bourbon that you want to finish in a port wine barrel, and you put it in there for a year. Well, now you have a 4-year, 11-month bourbon finished in a port wine barrel. Because of that classification, it is still technically aging in wood, so the TTP now allows you to add that to your age statement.
So previously, you would have had a 3-year, 11-month, is that what you said?
Yep.
So you would have had to have legally, since it's under 4 years, put that on your label. Now, with the change in the law, it's over 4, so you don't have to put an age statement on there if you don't want to.
Right.
You still can, but you don't have to, because it's aged in further aged in that wine barrel. That's interesting. Wonder why they changed that. Don't know.
Tons of brands are doing it, and people like age statements. So I'm sure some people slip some money in pockets to make it happen.
Oh, that doesn't happen, Chad. Come on.
They're called lobbyists.
What about the next one? What else is new?
Cask strength has a definition, sort of. Also semantics, gray area like all these, but still a rule. So cask strength is when you dump a barrel, it can't be changed in proof more than 2 points. You can do proofing in the barrel and adjust it to slow proof, like what they do in cognac and what Nancy Fraley loves to do. But once you dump that barrel, if it's 105 proof and you proof it to 102 proof, it's not cask strength anymore. It is now just 102 proof.
But if you prove it to 103, that's only 2 points down. It can still be cask strength.
Still cask strength.
Interesting. So it needs a little bit of water to take kind of the rough edges off, but you still want to, Still want to have people see that cask strength on the label? You can do it. That's interesting. Okay.
And
what
my
a little,
thought-
what a little Jeff Goldblum there. You can do it. Oh, yes. Oh, okay.
Apartments.com.
Yeah.
So my thought with why they did that is because some brands want to put cask strength on a label, but also want to kind of tailor it down to be an exact proof.
Okay.
So I'm not sure on that. I don't work for the TTB. I don't write the rules. But like you said,
Yeah.
semantics.
Semantics.
Yeah.
So here's another semantic that when we were talking about this yesterday. So I could have a barrel, maybe it's about a half full or half empty, depending on your optimism level. And I have that room to add differing whiskey or bourbon, right, into there, fill it all the way up, let it continue in aging, and I haven't broken any rules.
No, because it is still a single barrel, especially if it is from the same state. So say you have two different Kentucky distilleries, you're combining a barrel, that's called re-gauging a barrel. So things like Red Hook Rye, back in the day with Linnell, those barrels, the reason why the yields are so high on those ages are because they were re-gauging. They're combining like stuff together or similar types of whiskey together to get that yield up to further age it. There are tons of brands who do, some people call it inner barrel mingling, but it's re-gauging to get their yields up to help with loss, but it's completely legal.
Also, like, if you're like, this barrel is really dropped in proof, this one up on the top floor is like 133, let's dump half of that into this one to proof it up.
Yeah, 100%. And you would think that is a small batch, but technically there is no legal law on what is a single barrel. It just is a single barrel. It's one barrel.
Here's the semantics part. Once you dump that barrel empty, it's a used barrel.
Done.
If there's still original distillate in there that's been aging, it could be down to a gallon in there. You fit all the way back up to the 53. It's still a first use barrel. That's the semantics of it that I find so interesting.
Yes, but the thing with that is technically you've not dumped the barrel, so it might be super low, it might have leaked or it might have evaporated, but if you combine more whiskey in there of the same type, it still is that bourbon or that rye or whatever it is. It's still that type of whiskey.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know there was a lot of information in here. Hopefully this episode
information.
wasn't too dry, but I find it interesting. Hopefully you guys find it interesting too. And we have to thank you for you being in the industry and gaining this knowledge. It's very helpful.
It's fun to educate and teach, and that's one of my favorite things. But it's also fun to give everyone a little peek behind the curtain. So to speak.
Aha! There we go. Well, hey, that's where we better leave it. If you haven't subscribed to us already, you can do so by clicking right up here. There's suggestions of other videos down here. Hope to see you over there in one of those. Thanks, Watson.
Thanks, Perk.
All right.
I hate that.
Until next time, drink more bourbon.